Can you guys all see my screen?
Yes, we can.
Excellent. Thank you so much. Marcel, Andrew, feel free to allow people in as they come in, and we will go ahead and start looking at the chat also. Thank you so much, Marcel, for helping out with the chat here. Okay, answering any of the questions. So, good day, everyone. Here we are with another episode of our Power Platform Developer Office Hours. Yeah, so welcome again. So this time we have Andrew Petrochuk, Marcel Ferreira, and our special guests with us. And I want to make sure that we go through just our normal set of things that we cover to make sure that no NDA material is discussed, what we are going to talk about, and this is only relevant to our Power Platform developer related topics. So we will, here's the agenda. We will cover the Power Platform CLI, so-called PAC CLI, the recent release that happened. We'll also cover Power FX capability in Power Platform CLI, and we will have a couple demos for you from Marcel, and we will also do another ALM related demo from Anthony, and we'll dig right into our AMA. We'll discuss any of the submitted questions and open the floor to all of our community. So let's get things started here. Why we are here, right? So Power Platform developer tools, they are ways to automate your development tasks, and you can use it in a variety of ways. Imagine you're working in Power Platform environments, and you are utilizing Azure DevOps, or you're using GitHub Actions, or you're on any platform. So you want to go ahead and try that with command line on any platform. We'll talk about that. So those are some of the areas that where Power Platform CLI is available. Now, we hold these office hours for our community when they're having any difficulty, they want to learn more about Power Platform developer tools. They want to talk about any challenges that they're having. We'll limit the amount of time we are going to spend on any topic, on any troubleshooting issue, but we'll definitely take your feedback. We'll provide the ways for you to connect with us offline, and we'll be happy to dig in to other detailed issues. So with that said, let's talk more about it. We hold these office hours monthly, and they normally happen in the U.S. time zone between 11 a.m. and 12 p.m. Pacific time, which is the Seattle Redmond time here. And generally, we cover PAC CLI, the Power Platform CLI, because the release has just happened. Now, if the release is, given that we're coming into holiday time period here in the US and globally next month for Christmas time. So we want to make sure that you guys have your expectations, and feel free to submit all your questions through our other forms, okay, other avenues. So we cover what's coming up in PAC CLI, which was just released, and we'll talk more about the features that we're shipping. We'll discuss any issues that you're having. So with that said, we also want for newbies, we also want to make sure that they can scan this QR code. They can get started with the Power Platform. I assume all of you guys are here accessing Power Platform for your daily tasks. And if you're not, then go ahead and scan this, sign up for the trial. You get the three developer environments in the trial developer plan and such. So let's start sharing information about our newest release that just happened for PAC CLI. So with that, here we have made some changes for your token cache that you can learn. Sorry, did say anyone wants to talk about something? Okay.
Go ahead.
All right, excellent. So now we've made some improvements with the token cache within PAC CLI when you do PAC auth for your security improvements. We'll dig in a little bit further. Marcel will go ahead and talk a little bit more about it a little bit later. And then we also have introduced PAC Canvas last month for download and list. Now this time we have this new capability for extract to directory. So with the download and list, you can list your MS app file, PAC Canvas, and with your environment, and then you can download your Canvas app with the MS app file. Now we're adding this capability of extracting the MSF file into a specific directory. So we're providing that. Also, last month, we introduced PowerFX a preview and PowerFX capability in two different ways. And I'll dig in a little bit more detail. At this time, we're adding a alias for PowerFX. We heard from our community having a long name. Now you can type power-fx or you can type pfx and move on. And we added some list of functions. We'll share that further down. Also, we had heard from our community that data import, PAC data import was failing, and we were not getting any return code. So here's a capability that, improvement that returns a non-zero return code during the failed import. We have PAC solution syncs. Solution sync. It now supports on Windows platform long path names, and we have PAC package deploy. So you can use the solution argument with that. Now, for PAC create, PAC admin create. Previously, we had we've been hearing from community. They want to be able to add a security group when they're creating a new environment. So here now we are giving the capability. Go try it out, and we're updating the documentation. You should be able to take a look at that. So looking forward to that. Now. Last one here in the list is PAC PCF push for your PCF solutions. You can give a unique name and that works along with your publisher prefix. So when you're using PAC PCF push, we'll dig a little bit more in detail a little bit later. We'll have Marcel go into that. With that, as I mentioned, with PAC PowerFX capability, right? One, you can use the alias. You don't have to use a long power-fx. You can use pfx. Now, why would you want to use that? Well, as you know, if you're, using Excel, you are familiar with a lot of the formulas, and PowerFX is a low-code language. So I'll give you some scenarios, and then we'll talk a little more about it. So you can use your formulas that are in PowerFX, and you can use it in two different ways. You can do it in a REPL, which is a read, evaluate, print loop. It's a shell. You type PAC PFX REPL, and it'll take you right into the shell. Obviously, you're going to be connected to your Power Platform environment. You can check that when you're creating the auth profile, PAC auth create. It goes through your authentication, and it'll set up a profile. And just take a look at you have a list of profiles by doing PAC auth list, and within PAC auth list, make sure you're connected to. You have selected the universal type profile, and once you're connected, you can check further detail by PAC org who. You type that, it'll give you a list of the detail. Once you are authenticated and you are going to go ahead and type PAC PFX REPL, it will take you into the shell for PowerFX. Now, on the right side of the screen here, you can see it's authenticated, right? And right after that is when you type PAC PowerFX REPL or PAC PFX REPL, it'll take you in. And these are two different modes. There's a REPL and then there's a run. And run is for if you have you're expert with PowerFX formula, you have all your expressions in a file, and you simply use run with the dash dash file and give it a file name, you'll go ahead and run your file. And if you want to see stepwise what statement is being executed, add another flag dash dash echo. Now, there is no true or false addition to the dash dash echo. So just make sure that it's only dash dash echo. There's nothing dash dash echo space true or false or whatever. So once you do that, and you're the third step right there, running using a file mode. Okay. Now, once you're in a REPL, in the REPL, when you type help, obviously it is case sensitive. So you will see case sensitive help with a capital H and open close parentheses. It'll list you the formulas that you can use. Now, keep in mind, we are always adding more formulas into this list, and you can track by there is a very end of this list, you will see a reference link for the formula reference. Now that reference link will take you to a location where all the formulas you can use from PowerFX within REPL, within this PAC CLI. So yeah, go ahead and give that a shot. Try it. It's available since last release, which was 1.28, and we have added additional functions. We have added additional help. Daniel has our friend Daniel. He has done a video. Take a look at that video. If you're a part of LinkedIn, you should have seen that. If not, just go ahead and link with us. We'll be happy to give you more support on that. We'll be happy to work with you. All the power of PowerFX is available at your fingertips, right from the command line, and it's a start. It's in preview. Anything you have, any questions, ideas, there's a link for feedback. Feel free to share your feedback there. With that, we have Anthony here with our ALM team. And Anthony, you're here?
Yes.
All right, excellent. So I'm going to pass the floor to Anthony. He will share some insights here, and we'll take the questions afterward, however we feel. So Anthony, go ahead.
Sweet. So hello, everyone. I actually have never presented for this forum before, or this group of audience.
It's not, so sorry to interrupt. There is no justification on that part. It's open floor. We're all friends here. You don't have to be too formal.
Right.
This is a great community here, and feel free to jump right in. Before we go, okay, I guess there's Juan has a hand up. And let's see, Juan?
No, that's okay. My mistake. Go ahead.
All right,
Thank
excellent.
you.
The floor is yours, Anthony.
Cool.
Thank you.
Sounds good. I guess I wanted to preface that by saying I don't know how familiar all of you are with pipelines. So I could just take it from the top, and those of you who have heard it before will just get a little refresher, and it's fun. So let me share my screen with you all.
Let's see, we're having a little bit difficulty with the. Okay.
Well, I can go with the
Let
demo.
yeah, let's start with Marcel. Thank you, Marcel.
Okay, no problem. ShafQat, in the meantime, can you check if we can enable Q&A in the chat? I don't see here in the
Okay, sure.
in the
Sounds
meeting.
good.
Okay, so hello everyone. I just want to quickly share something. So I will just share my screen. Okay, mostly talking about the future. So I just want to talk about authentication profiles. As you can see, we have been deploying lots of updates and changes. So I see dear in the chat. No worries, it's nothing. It's really nothing. I just want to talk about authentication profiles because there was some confusions. So authentication profile, basically we used to have we still have 3 types of authentication profiles, right? So if I go to PAC out help, actually create help, we have the parameter kind, right, which says is deprecated. Okay, it's not quite deprecated yet. We are going to deprecate, and this is what my main message today. We want to deprecate all the kinds of authentication. Universal will be the unique one. Okay, so when you are creating authentication profiles, be sure you are not mixing, because we have Dataverse, we have admin, and we have universal. Sometimes if you have different types, you might have some issues. We are looking after these scenarios and we are fixing those. But again, the direction it is, we will deprecate the Dataverse and the admin types. Universal will be the unique one. Okay, and I will just quickly create a new authentication profile so you'll see exactly what I mean. So if I go to PAC, out, create, and let's use the URL parameter. If I pass a URL parameter, and then I will get a screen here to authenticate. That's, yep, it is here. So I will just authenticate with another user. And I will select my admin. And OK, it's validating. And OK, good. But now I have 2 types of authentication profile. I have one universal and one Dataverse. And I have 2 active ones. So because of that, you might get unexpected results when you, depending on the command you use, it might use one profile, it might use another one. So we are looking after these scenarios, we are fixing those, but the direction it is, we will deprecate Dataverse and admin, and universal will be the only one. Okay, we just want to be sure we are not breaking anybody. I know you guys are using lots of automations and scripts and et cetera, et cetera. So be sure you're using universal one. If you have any scenarios, corner cases, or if you find any issues here, please let us know. Okay. So this was the main message. There was more updates, as ShafQat said. I think the most relevant one, it is about long path names. So basically, if you use a PAC solution clone, for example, you can use long path names here. This should work with PAC solution clone and PAC solution sync. This is super helpful because sometimes if you have scripts, sometimes your folder is really long. And also Windows has a limitation, right, of 260 characters. So if you want to go beyond that, you can use this signal in the beginning. These should work without the comments, okay? So basically, some customers found this in when using DevOps tasks, for example. So we are addressing that. We should support these special characters here, so you can use long path names, okay? Here. And with that, we'll have a look on the chat now, but I want to hand over to Anthony if he's ready. Are you ready, Anthony?
We'll see if Teams works with me this time.
All right, so you can take over and yeah.
Sweet. Okay, I'm gonna try this one more time, and then if it doesn't work, I'll try to share something with you all. But yeah, so I wanted to, well, let's try to share the screen first, and then we'll see what happens. Okay. Can anyone see my screen? Are we good?
Yes.
Cool. Okay. So we've actually made a few updates recently to pipelines. So I wanted to showcase some of them. Unfortunately, the demo gods were also not working in my favor here. So one of the changes broke this morning. So I have to improvise a little bit, but I have a solution for you all. So right now we're inside of a solution called Contoso Interview Management. And essentially the solution just has different components such as a Canvas app, which is kind of the star of the show here, and then connection or a connection, and then a bunch of environment variables that allow the Contoso Interview Management app to work properly. So if I, a maker, want to go through and deploy using a pipeline that my admin had set up for me, as a matter of fact, this admin has set up a delegated deployment pipeline using an SPN. So this delegated deployment we implemented because we obviously hear the customers and we want to make sure that we are addressing those needs of those who use SPNs to escalate permissions without actually giving the users, or the makers in this case, more permissions than they should be having. So this here is for those of you who have never seen this, this is the deployment panel. So once I click deploy here, I'm moving from my dev environment to my test environment. So the pipeline has already been chosen, and then also deployments may be pending until an associated background process succeeds. This is something that the admin could have set up for me that's either a pre-export or pre-deployment step that needs to be completed in order for the deployment to go through. So that could be like validation of something specific, or whatever your organization has set up. So for this, I'm just going to say deploy now, but you can also deploy later if you would like. And then I also have this disclaimer down here: an AI-generated description for the solution will be created for you when you click next. So as this is loading, this actually takes, I tested this out a bit before. It might take a little bit, so I have one already set up. So then we jump into the connections. So it's validated my connection, which is the interview or SharePoint connection. Oh, I think since I started the other one, it's not going to work. And you know what? That's okay, because we'll improvise. So I'm just going to sit here and wait for this. But as we're waiting a bit, I wanted to go and explain the update that we made for sharing specifically connections with the SPN. So in this next screen that you'll see in a moment, we have just made the implementation that was previously blocking makers from being able to use a delegated deployment or be able to deploy with an SPN because there was an error with connections not being shared with the SPN, which was completely blocking because then the SPN obviously couldn't go through with the deployment. So now we have enabled that feature for the connections to be shared as a required step if it will show up. Okay, there we go. Cool. So as you can see, we have the interviewer SharePoint connection, and then we have this checkbox down here that says share connections with the service principal, and that connections must be shared to complete the deployment. This was a recent addition as of, I believe, last month. So now that we have this checked automatically, we can click next. And this was the next major update I was really excited to show you all, but because it broke this morning, I have it in another tab. This is actually also going to be implemented in the import or solution import experience. So now we are going to have environment variable visibility. And what that means for makers is that they will be able to see actually the values of each environment variable in their solution and actively change them upon deployment or import to a new environment. So this is something that I had mentioned way early on in the year in MVP Summit, but this is a monumental change for environment variables usability. I know that a lot of customers, maybe some of you here, were asking for it specifically. We wanted to make sure that there was a lot of transparency when using environment variables, because we know that whether an environment variable inherits the default value, the target environment variable, or the solution value, these terms and priorities can get very easily mixed up. So I also am starting an initiative to update the documentation to better explain this. And like I said, this is something that was rolled out last week, but we found a bug, so we needed to fix it this week. So we are actively rolling it out now, and you should see it, I believe, by next week in both solution import and pipelines. So for now, I'm just going to leave this blank. But the final thing I wanted to show you all is the Copilot generated deployment notes. So as you saw, I don't know if you remember, I know it was a while ago, that list of components that were in the solution have actually been described for the maker and the admin here. So it starts off with a description of what the solution is. So it kind of explains here the interview management solution and what it contains, what it can do. It actually used the AI generated app description here for the Contosa interview management app. So it's included it here. For those components that it didn't have much information on, it kept it pretty vague, but you still know that there are environment variables here. And yeah, it just lists all the key components with a description. And then when we're all happy with it, we click deploy, and then that will get deployed. First, it will be exported. And then because my admin has set up, and I know that there's probably not there's probably not a lot of time. I'm going to forego this for now, but what was supposed to happen was an admin would receive an approval request, and then I would be able to approve it based on the deployment notes that I see, making sure that everything is safe and secure. And then the maker would then get that feedback that it was approved, and you would see it here and continue to deploy. Yes, that was about everything, I think.
All right.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Hey,
Excellent.
Anthony, there's just one related question would be great to address now. So Sanjeev is asking if there is an ETA to make SPN deployments on GCC.
On GCC.
Yes. Do you know anything about it?
It's a government cloud, right?
Right, government cloud. I am not 100% sure what our timeline is on GCC. Casey, my counterpart, is the one who was mainly driving delegated deployments, so he might have more info, but I'll get back to you on that one.
That's a good, Sanjeev, we don't have a ETA for now, but stay tuned.
Yeah, feel free to drop us an email. We'll get it forward to the appropriate teams with Anthony and his counterparts. Yeah, we'll definitely take that. Any other questions?
Just one from me. When is this GA for the Australian region?
You mean for
the
Copilot generated? Wait, I'm sorry. I keep talking over you. Didn't mean it.
Sorry, the environment variables within the deployment pipelines.
Yeah, so the environment variables, the GA for all regions is planned to be rolling out as of the end of this week. So it was rolled out before, but we had to roll it back. So now we're rolling it out again. I actually don't know how long it will take. We just disabled the ECS for now, but when we re-enable it, you could have it as soon as next week.
Cool. Thank you. Yeah, we are having a really hard time without that environment variable. We have to change so many things.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah. We hear you.
All right, good question. Any other questions? Okay, if not, thank you so much, Anthony, for sharing your knowledge and sharing some of this feedback here. Hopefully our community has enjoyed that, and definitely feel free to send us your feedback, and we'll take it further from this, and we'll be happy to reply back to your feedback. So with that said, Anthony, I will go ahead and take the screen back. All right. Okay.
Thanks, everyone.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Now, let's see, moving on to our next question here coming up. And let's see where we at. This one we did. Okay, so we had some questions submitted prior to our community call. There was one question by Martin. He asked if we could cover DevOps build tools. Well, it's a pretty general question, but we'll give a little bit of feedback here. We have Power Platform build tools, list of them in the docs. And if you're building a pipeline, go into your search when you start the pipeline, when you start the edit for your pipeline on your right side, look for Power Platform. You have a list of Power Platform tools that come up, and use a version 2.x. Also, you can get documentation. It's available on MS Learn Docs. If there's any specific tool you'd like to learn more about it, go ahead and follow up with that, and we'll be happy to dig further detail. Or if you want additional tools made or some other explanation you need, feel free to send us our way. Okay, the second question was detailed explanation of new features and best practices. I think given the area that we're trying to cover here, it's a very general ask, and what I would say in that regards, and it's open to everyone, and feel free to cover my special guest and my partners here, that explanations on new features and best practices. I think we covered the new features that we introduced in Power Platform CLI and pipelines. Any specific you would like to know, Ryan? Feel free to share some details and best practices. It all depends on the use case, right? What is the use case that you're having an issue, and we'd be happy to dig further into this best practice part of it. Now, the third one, I wanted to put that out here, but I feel that this may be outside of our area. It was sent by Piotr. Why SQL Server Connections has no environment variables, data source type, so we could decide which instance of SQL we want to connect. So we will defer that for later. The fourth and the last one was need some support building some Power Apps for my organization by Elimami. Well, again, we would love to know your use case and what are the requirements, and reach us offline, and I will follow up on, I think you have a email address. I will follow up on that email with you. What specific are you looking for from your organization perspective? With that said, all right, I'm going to open this floor up to AMA. So go ahead. We'll talk about any other questions you guys have. We'll be happy to answer. So floor is yours. Feel free to unmute yourself, raise hand, put it in chat, put it in QA.
Question. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Use case of the Power FX and the CLI. What data are you typically operating against when you use it?
Yes, a good question. Good question, Jonathan. So you are dealing with data in Dataverse. And okay, Marcel, my laptop battery is going to go out fairly soon. So if you could take help on that one, that'd be great.
Yeah, I think you answered the question. Is basically Dataverse. Any you want to go deeper? Any other specific?
No, that's, I just wanted to clarify that. Yep. That's what I figured.
Yes.
I just wanted to clarify. Thanks.
Yes.
Yeah, maybe Marcel, I can add a little bit more. In PAC CLI, as Marcel showed, we have different OS profiles. So when you use Power FX, it will connect to Dataverse using your OS profile, and it will use data from specifically that environment that you have in your profile.
It makes sense. Yeah, it's perfect. Thanks.
Mm-hmm.
Marcel, if I get disconnected, feel free to answer their questions.
Absolutely, that's okay. That's okay.
Apologies. Anything else?
There is a open hand. Larry, wanna go unmute?
Yes. Hi. Thank you. One of the issues I've been having is with mixing the different types of authentication profiles.
Yes.
I find that I'm learning a little bit better how to control which one gets created. But when they're mixed, I can't really get what I need. I work primarily with Dataverse, so I'm wondering what's the best way to ensure I always get a Dataverse kind.
Yes.
If I pass the kind parameter, will it always honor that? I was confused
Yeah,
by it being deprecated.
That's a good question. So basically, what you want to use the PAC out create. There is a parameter environment. If you use the environment, then you will create a universal profile, and then you will be connected to the right environment. Okay. How are you using PAC CLI through VS Code or just PAC CLI?
Both.
Both.
Jump back and forth.
Okay, if you're using through VS Code, there are some ways for you to set your current environment on the left pane. So you can use that to define which one is the active one. So if you, I will quickly share my screen so I can show you actually.
And I can a little bit more, yeah. And
yes.
to create Dataverse specifically, just provide URL, just like Marcel is showing right now.
Yep.
Just a second to go. Password, PAC, auth create, and URL. That way, it will create Dataverse profiles.
Yeah, but I
like
don't.
Marcel said, we want to simplify it.
Yes.
And just get rid of all different types and just use one, and it will work in all scenarios.
Yes, and that's a key difference here. Like if you use the URL, then you will create a Dataverse authentication profile. Usually you don't want that. What do you want is a universal. That's why I mentioned if you want to specify one environment, the environment that will be the active one the first time you connect. If you pass environment, then it will be a universal type, and then you will be connected to the right environment that you want. I can actually show that. So let me go ahead.
Yeah, that's where I was having issues, is when I have a universal profile, I can't set the default org.
Yeah, well, you can.
Well, it's failing on me. I'm getting an error.
Do you have both? Do you have universal and Dataverse?
Well, when I create both, it becomes unclear which one's being used, right? Because it shows if you have both of them, you have a default and a Dataverse. I'm sorry, a Dataverse and a universal that are both set as the default, and you can never kind of switch it out. So I'm finding up just going to use either all one or all the other.
That's exactly. So for example, here I am in universal, right? I am connected in the dev environment. If I go and use PAC or PAC org who, I will see which one is the organization that I am connected to. So you will see I am using here dev, where it is. This is the URL, right? Is my dev one. But if I want to change, for example, I will change to test. Okay, I will just select test as the active one. I can also use PAC out select if I'm not in VS Code, but this will set test as the active one. I don't need to create a Dataverse one. If I come here and use PAC out who, then I will be in the test environment correctly as well, right? There you go, I am in the test environment. And you can always use PAC out list as well. So you will see I am on my universal one, and this is the active organization, right?
Okay.
But again, the problem is if you mix the profiles indeed. If you have a Dataverse type here, you have two active ones, and then CLI will have some unexpected behavior. That's why I wanted to point that out. Don't mix. Don't mix.
Right. I currently have, I'm doing a little bit of testing. I currently have two universal profiles that are porting at different tenants.
That's fine.
And one, I'm trying to use the PAC org who, and I'm getting like a JSON object error.
I can
a runtime exception. So I don't know if there's information I can send to you that will help with that, or
what is, you have two profiles, but only one of them are active, right?
Correct.
And even though you are getting an error,
right? It's in the GCC. The one I'm connected to is in the GCC. Okay. Is that potentially an issue?
It might be a specific scenario. You can, we can take that offline, but it should work. It should work.
And I pasted the URL, so feel free to open issues on GitHub site if you want. Yeah. But be careful because it's an open one, so don't put like logs or any information that is you don't want to share in public, right?
Yeah, I will go ahead and just.
If you do want to share in public, not in public, I mean information, feel free to open support ticket, and it will eventually come to us. And in support ticket, you can add your personal details.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Here's my point. If I use universal as the parameter, and I will create a new profile here, then it will create another universal profile, and I will have only one active. And if I use PAC org who, that should work. Yeah. Right. So yeah. So we need to see our specific scenario.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Right. We stop sharing here. We have another hand up. So yeah, Sanjeev, you wanna?
Yeah, I got a
Go ahead.
multi-part question. Could you explain what's the difference between the universal and the Dataverse? I know I've been seeing that, and I've probably used it, but not knowing it because I'm using that both on the VS Code side and also in the terminal. Could you tell me when to use what?
Yes, I definitely can. So you want to use universal always. Okay, you always want to use universal. We used to have two types. We still have, but the reason why we have is one is an admin one. So you can create environments, you can delete environments, is using our admin API. I will put this way. Okay. If you want to do operations with Dataverse, like you have specific operations with your organization, with your environment, that's when we will use a Dataverse type of authentication profile, because we are calling actually another API, which we need an organization context. Okay, that's why we have two kinds. But again, PAC CLI is growing. In the beginning, there was different commands. It was more simple. We simplified. We create a universal profile because we internally, we will know what kind of API we are calling, and we have enough context, so we will know which profile to use. So we are abstracting that complexity, making a lot more simpler to use the profile. So that's why we have universal. Universal is the direction. You always want to use universal. If something is not working with universal, we definitely want to know, because it should work. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, and then to create a universal profile, then I guess we do that through the VS Code then, or is that something we could do in both of the terminal side too?
Terminal as well. Every time you use PAC out create, universal is the one that will be created. I think the only scenario where still Dataverse is being created is if you pass URL, or if you specify the kind as well. But again, the direction it is, we want to deprecate this because this complexity is not needed anymore.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I want to quickly mention one thing. Remember, we also support a single sign-on, meaning you actually don't have to create a profile on Windows. Remember, on Windows, you can just issue commands, and we will use your Windows credentials to connect to either environment or do like admin list or any other commands.
Okay, thank you for that answer. The second question I got is, so right now through the PAC command, we can assign a role to the user in the organization, in the environment. Is there any command which also allows to unassign the second role within the environment? So I can assign a second role using the PAC command. Can I unassign it? I mean, I have not seen that unless I'm not looking at the right place. Do you guys know anything about that?
If we don't have it, feel free to open idea on GitHub.
Yeah, I do have that one open.
Okay.
So, okay.
And we will look on votes. That's how you will prioritize.
I don't think we have it. That's a good point.
If PowerFX currently expose, and I don't know, guys, that's why I'm stating it as a question. If we currently expose the associate deassociate commands, you can do it with the PowerFX accelerator or the PowerFX extension.
Cool. All right. The last one is so let's say when we are trying to build any new application, right? I mean, right now in my organization, people, if they need a plugins, they go to the Visual Studio and then they build the plugins and all that sort of things. And within the PAC CLI, there's also PAC solution in it, which does a whole lot of things in there. Could you tell us something? If we want to do any new development, like should we start with a pack solution init, which would then add like a lot of things in there, and we can take that template and build on top of that? Like what should be the way? 'Cause I'm trying to read on pack solution init, but I'm not finding a really good documentation. Like how should you go about if somebody want to do a customization within the platform? Should you do that separate? Should we start with the pack solution init? Any recommendation on that?
That's a good question, and that's something that we need to clarify. I agree with you. So PAC solution, sorry, you asked about PAC plugin init or PAC solution init?
PAC solution.
Well, whatever the PAC solution init does, right? I mean, because the goal is eventually to get everything in a solution, right? So that we can do the ALM part. And then like right now, the way we had prior to the PAC, we used to do things like all separately, but we used to put everything in a source control, but then we are trying to put everything in the ALM piece, and that's where we struggle, right? And then, now the PAC is there, and I think you guys are trying to add a command in there, which looks like, something like PAC solution init. We haven't started using it, but then again, that's where I'm kind of struggling, where I'm trying to find a documentation, like to try and understand, okay, I'm a new developer. I want to build an application where I need to do some customizing. Should the PAC solution init be the way to go about, or, do something separately and bring those together?
Okay. Yeah. PAC solution init is to help you to create a solution in your local environment, right? And please, Andrew and Matthew, feel free to jump in here. But I think if you are starting on the platform, and then that's when I say we might need to improve this a little bit on our guidance. But you can always use PAC solution clone, because you can get a good understanding of a solution structure and reading from the server.
Yeah, and typically what you're going to want to do, you can use PAC solution init to get yourself started. It requires a bit more runway, in that you need to know a little bit more about how the solutions are put together to be successful there. But you can do it. The easy way to get there to that same thing that PAC solution init does is to stand up the shell of your solution in Dataverse and then do PAC solution clone.
Correct.
That actually does the same thing PAC solution init does, except it seeds it with the solution structure, the publisher, and the unique name that you've started out on your environment. Now, conversely, you can use PAC solution init, do it yourself, populate the publisher information into the solution XML, and then push it to an environment using the build command and then push. But I think the root question that you're asking is the project type that is generated by the PAC solution init behavior the thing that we are advocating to use? The answer to that is yes. Okay. That is the way that our build systems are gearing themselves towards. The goal being that unless you have specific code signing requirements, you should be able to call .NET build solution project and be able to have that build everything. Okay. And conversely, if you are building things based on packages, PAC package has an add solution behavior as well, an add reference behavior as well. And you could call PAC .NET build the package project, which will then build all the solutions, more specifically, build all the plugins, build all the solutions, and land everything where it needs to be. And the artifact you get back out of that is the thing you're ready to deploy. So we've designed it at 2 levels. If you're dealing with one solution, .NET build the solution project, you end up with a deployable artifact. .NET build package, where you have multiple solutions, you end up with a package that will deploy the multiple solutions. Okay.
Got it.
Now,
okay.
if you need to do code sign or code scan intermediary things, it is MS build, and you can break that up in your build script, where you can build the plugins independently, go manage your code sign, do your validation. Then at that point, you're not using add reference for the solution project. You're using the package map behavior from Solution Packager. Again, the Solutions project supports that, and the .NET build solution, where there's a mapping file defined, will actually use the package map to pick up your compiled assemblies. Okay.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Right. Anybody else? Any more questions? Feel free to raise your hand or put in Q&A or just unmute yourself. Feedback, welcome as well. Yeah, Jonathan?
Quick comments. There's another place I found that creates a Dataverse profile, and that's when you create a new environment. It's by default a Dataverse environment, a Dataverse profile.
When you create a new environment,
PAC create, the profile that gets generated, for at least for me right now on 1.29.6, is a Dataverse profile.
Okay, good to know.
Okay, we'll have a look on that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Right. Any other question? Any other feedback? Yep, Larry?
Yes, you mentioned the difference, or that there was a difference between running it in VS Code versus the command line. Can I switch back and forth between them? It seems like when I make a change with the UI in VS Code, it's reflected in the command line. Is there a reason I should use one over the other? Is there a difference, or?
No, not really.
Okay.
They should be the same. So
Okay.
you are fine using either.
Okay.
Yeah,
thank you for clarifying.
Except in cases where in command line you can install it using MSI. MSI installer, then it uses full .NET framework, which is not cross-platform compatible, right? If you use .NET Tool to install it, it's a slightly different version of PAC CLI with slightly less features, because we are using .NET 6, which is cross-platform compatible. For example, data commands are missing and a few other commands are missing.
That's a good point. That's a good point.
Yeah, I don't remember how I installed the CLI one.
Okay.
I'll have to go back and
if you do a PAC, if you have data, then you will know the way you install basically. But what Andrew is saying is like PAC data, the verb, the comment PAC data will not work if you do not have the .NET framework. Depending on the way you install, you will not see it. Yeah,
you will not see it. Yeah,
that's how you know. Yes, basically.
Okay, I haven't tried that.
There is another thing as well. Like if you install using the MSI, actually you will have a CMD shell. So if you try to get where the command is being executed, you might get a different path, but that should be okay. In the past, we have had issues with the different exit codes. All of those have been fixed, but there is this difference as well. Just to let you know how different it is. But again, the behavior should be the same. You're fine. In VS Code, you just have the UI. Like you can use a little bit more the UI here and there, but it's your preference. Okay,
thanks.
We have another hand up. So Parves, sorry if I mispronounced. Go ahead.
No, that's fine, perfect. I wanted to ask the mapping file approach that was mentioned earlier for injecting code into the solution package. Is that supported just for plugin assemblies, or is it supported for plugin packages as well?
You can do plugin packages with file map, but it's not tested with plugin packages. So roll of the dice right now on that. Plugin packages aren't quite where we expect them to be, where we want them to be. So I'm again, no sugarcoating there. It is, your mileage may vary with plugin packages. There's a lot of goodness that's coming in there. We're missing a couple of key innovations that we need to get done. We know we need to do them. It is a timing and effort and capacity problem for us to get to them, but we are aware that there's some gaps there. Once we get that done, then I would very confidently say, yeah, file mapping plugin packages in is going to work for you every time. But right now, it's a your mileage may vary thing. Okay.
And definitely open issues if you encounter issues, either on GitHub or through other channels.
Yes, please.
Okay. Thank you.
All right, we have 3 more minutes, so I will start to say goodbye unless anybody else has a question. What I want to say as well, it is we will start to look, keep putting your questions on our GitHub, but we will also start to have a look on the ideas portal to be more inclusive of makers as well. But again, feel free to interact in both channels, and that's what we had for today. Thanks for being here. Thanks for all the feedback, and please keep coming to our GitHub, posting questions and interacting with us. Thank you all.
Okay. Thanks. Bye.